It's the track.
Okay, recording the podcast Saturday, June the 5th, a day later. Track Stitch headquarters, Shane, the prodigal son. Rody joining. Dayo, had a good week, mate?
Yeah, well, the prodigal son got up to all sorts of stuff, so that's definitely me. Before anyone out there thinks he's anointing me as some sort of, how do I put it, mythical figure, fabulous character.
On the backs of a highly controversial podcast, the most controversial podcast that we've had, Shane, last week.
I was like Dennis Connors when he walked off, or Dennis Connor is it when he walked off Paul Holmes' show, the home show, refusing to answer. If I had the little lapel mic, I would have just taken it off and just, thank you, Paul. Thank you very much for having me. I'm going to leave now.
Well, what about the infamous press conference? What was that infamous where he told, who did he tell specifically that our vote was a piece of shit? Who was that?
Was it Brad Butterworth or someone like? No, was it Chris? What's his name?
Yes,
the New Zealand guy, Chris. Someone. He goes, "You are so full of shit."
All right, Shane, Dennis, Connor, Rody. All right, well, moving forward, Shane, we've got a jam-packed pod as always. Somehow we find content to come up with here. Probably kicking it off with one of the most jam-packed weeks of Diamond League action in the entire season. There were kind of 3 meets over the space of a week. It was in Rabat, of course, last weekend. Then we had Rome midweek. We've got Stockholm coming up. Guess you could say it was a triple of sorts. Yeah. Shall we dive into some interesting results there across the board? Obviously, Stockholm hasn't happened yet, but there's a lot of narratives going on there. Shall we kick it off with Rabat? Obviously only focusing on the distances and events we care about. The 800 meters for men with the Burgermeister, the Burgenator, Max Bergen, reigning supreme, 142.98, beats Wanyoni. Shane, what do you think about this performance from the Burgenator? Of course, you remember all the way back to when he was just a young buck on the scene running 145, I think at like 16 or 17. I remember us talking about him back in the day and if he would ever make it through to the senior ranks, and he definitely has. Olympic finalist, like world championship finalist. Great performance from the Burgenator.
If the Burgenator can put it together on the day, the Burgenator is an Olympic gold prospect for 28.
Yeah,
he's got all the raw ingredients necessary. But as you know, Jason, being an Olympian yourself in the 800, I think more than any other distance event, it's just got such a cross-pollination of factors that you need to be across to be an Olympic champion in that event. And he's someone that slowly but surely is maturing and becoming a more rounded 800-meter runner.
Yeah, and what was so impressive about this race here is that obviously he just went Johnny Gray style, straight to the front of the race, David Rudisha style, just never relented and had that strength to hold on, which maybe he hasn't quite had in the last 2 to 3 seasons, which were still very good seasons, as we said, which involved an Olympic final and a world championship final and also sub 143 clockings. But he beats Wanyoni in this one. What do you think? Yeah, I mean, this is it's always tough. You mentioned this last week or a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about Brazier and Hoppel kicking off the season, how the 800-meter guys can take a little bit longer to get into things. But obviously, this is one of the years where people are sort of looking at these, the major protagonists in the 800 meters, in particular, Wanyoni and Arop, to go after the world record because there's no major championship. And it just doesn't, I don't know. In that race I don't want to read too much into it, but yeah, I think we're on the same page here, right?
Well, we get a lot wrong on the track stitch, but we get some stuff right. And I am pissing in my own pocket here, but I did say last week that I felt it was going to be a year where everyone was just sort of trudging a little bit. And that race in Rabat had that feeling where they're just not quite as a group going to be, busting down the doors of really fast times. That's the feeling. I mean, they could all come out and run 142 next week, and I'll be proved wrong, but that's my feeling. And they ran like it's going to be that kind of year in the 800.
Yeah, it's weird. Again, there's no rational reason why you would look at that performance or that race and then take out Wanyonyi of it. He still ran 143 mid. It's not a bad performance for his first kind of major race this season. But it just wasn't kind of the race that I feel like I would expect from some guy who was maybe going to break 141 later in the year, especially in the current climate of 800-meter running, where 143 flat, which used to be an incredible world, like top of the world standard time. Now it's not pedestrian, but it's, it seems these guys run 143 every single race. So I don't know. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, like I said last week, and I don't want to go and repeat myself ad nauseum, these guys have been racing full throttle.
Yeah.
Pretty close to world record level for multiple years. They're human.
Tough to sustain.
So you can't just go. And next year's world champs, next year after that Olympics. It's like, even if they haven't consciously decided to take it a bit easier this year, maybe unconsciously they have. Can't just keep going. It's probably a good thing if they're not all at their absolute peak this year. And I think Bergen won that race because he was good, whilst but not spectacular. He ran good fundamentals, got to the front and held his pace, and he's got the fitness. But all those he won because all those other guys were subpar versus what we've come to expect of them, as opposed to him doing anything possibly completely amazing.
Yeah. Brazier 144.03 in that one. Probably got more to talk about with Brazier after the Rome performance, so we'll talk about him in a second. In the 1500, Jared Nugsy 330.35. He gets the win in the 15. This is his 5th Diamond League win. In on the Track Stitch, Shana, we're all about trying to, extract narratives or different stories other than just, analyzing races. Plenty of other websites and podcasts that'll do that. For me, when I saw Ngus win this race, the first thing that jumped into my mind was kind of how I expected this year to be a bit of an inflection point for him in his career. Coming off last year, obviously he'd run under 328 in the Olympic year, Olympic bronze medalist. Big disappointment last year, ran Grand Slam track early, just completely ran out of steam. It seemed like that Prefontaine mile where he just capitulated in the final 100 and got beaten by Laros might have cooked his goose, no pun intended, figuratively. So I thought this year was an interesting one to see how Jared would come back, and pleasantly surprised, I think, or just, I'm happy to see him with kind of this newfound pep and sort of aggression, and his post-race comments even sort of echoed that as well. Like, I think he was really intimating that it was important for him to set the scene again and get back on the wagon. So great performance from the Goose. Is that how you see it as well?
Not really.
Okay.
Jared Ngus reminds me a lot of the great Jan Ullrich. I think, and Jan Ullrich was once described by one of his teammates as a hell of a nice guy who just happened to be a very talented bike rider.
Mm-hmm.
Jared Ngus, he wanted to do, I think, dentistry. We met him, Jason, up at
Forest Park. Yeah.
Forest Park in Portland. Lovely guy, shy, probably quite intelligent. One of the few top guys who will finish a race and not win and still be smiling, and that says a lot about him. He's a good guy, nice guy. Happens to be one of the most talented milers ever. Right? I don't think that's beyond doubt. Like you said, Jason, he runs like you sort of dreamt you could run. He's running 55-second speed, and he looks like he's cruising.
The freedom on the gate,
Winning that race, I mean, again, a bit like the 800. To me, it wasn't. It just wasn't. No one did anything spectacular, and he sort of ground out a good finish. It was a competent performance. I just feel like he's always going to be there or thereabouts, but he's not a guy I'd be putting, if you said, put your life on someone in this race winning a world champs or an Olympics. But having said that, not everyone's going to be Cole Hocker, not everyone's going to be Hisham Al Garouge. And
Josh Kerr,
Josh Kerr, he might be a guy who's living a very comfortable life as one of the top milers in the world. He's a 327 and 343 guy. earns a great living from on and has a good life. So but I just don't know if he's like really, really, really wants it like a Cole Hocker. Cole Hocker really wants it.
Sure. No, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean like does this race signal that he's going to be a force, but I just felt maybe after last season he could have not faded into total obscurity, but lost his confidence. He'd had a couple of really great seasons. We talk all the time about how it's so difficult at this level to sustain the performance that all these guys want to be at for more than 3 or 4 years. And one of the downsides to that mindset is that when you are striving to maintain that level, you just run yourself into the ground, as we've kind of seen with Jakob, to be honest, a little bit. So I think just for me, I was just happy to see that he was back in the winner's circle. He looks like he's super fit and healthy again and motivated. Does it mean that he's going to be a factor next year at the World Champs? Doesn't even mean he'll make the US team, given how difficult that is now. But just pleased to see him, because he was definitely a bit downtrodden, I think, at the end of last season with the way things had gone. I think a lot of those guys, and rightly so, coming off the Olympic medal and running under 3:28, historic performance, he was probably expecting more, didn't get it. So I know how difficult that is when you don't live up to your own expectations. And so just, please for him. 5th Diamond League victory. That's far more than any American, I think, like combined in the 1,500 meters have had. So good stuff from Nugsy.
I just, it's what we do, Jason. It's what we do in our private lives. We go back and forward, hammer and tongs, and disagree about a lot of stuff, and sometimes get to the same point. But I just didn't, my truth, rather than for the sake of it, sort of agreeing so we can move on, is when I saw that race, to me, it was a very underwhelming race. I mean, they've set the standard now to get into the World Champs at 3:30.0. So winning in 3:30.5 now, when it seems like every second talented college kid runs 3:30 or 3:31. I know that's a bit of an overstatement to make my point, bit of an exaggeration to make my point. But to me, it was just like kind of a nothing race. I know it's a Diamond League, and he eked out a victory in 3:30.5. It just didn't tell me enough. And we'll get to Brazier and Hopple in a minute, Jason. It's a bit like with Brazier. It was a bit like those previous races in the 800 with Brazier and Hopple. And you asked me what I thought. I said it's hard to know, and you agreed. I just don't know. I want to see him in a race with some more of the top guys with the hammer down, and see whether he still runs 3:30 or if he's back in 3:29.0 shape. Then I'd be like, okay, he's on a good trajectory. I just don't know. I'm going back and changing your nickname or your moniker from Shane the Prodigal Son to Shane the Hard Taskmaster Roadie. We have to call it as we said, Jason. We don't have any sponsors or anyone or any real association. So we're almost like the radio hierarchy of the 1970s. The illegal pirate radio station. We're allowed to speak with wanton gay abandon, so to speak, about what we see.
Well, maybe we're more like Lee Hart and Newsboy sitting in the trailer beside the cricket doing rogue commentary feeds out to the rest of the world. Maybe that's more.
That's what we'd like to be like. We're the poor man's Lee Hart. And
moving forward, another event, Freddie Rupert, the flying German.
Oh yeah,
7:57.80, gets under 8 minutes for the first time. Oh man, am I correct in saying he's the first white dude to go under 8 minutes for the steeplechase?
Yes,
I think he is, right. But I tell
you,
the
Jaeger bomb bombed it.
Oh, dude, I know. That is literally what I was going to say. The first thing that jumped into my mind when I saw this performance from Freddie Rupert was terrible, because he ran an awesome performance in his own right. I was just thinking about Jaeger basically on the doorstep of running like 7:55 high, 7:56 in that race in Paris back in 2015 and falling at the last hurdle and not. I don't know. But hey, shout out to Federico Rupert for the sub 8 there. Anything else to add? He's a good, tough runner, huh?
Yeah, it was awesome. And I saw he backed up with a 12:57.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he's class, and he's focused and good on him. Just a shout out to Albacali. It was quite funny on the start line. You would have seen it when Beamish, the camera panned to him, and he kind of did a little thing to sort of the crowd, because probably assuming they knew more about him or cared more about him than they did, and they just it was just silence. And he had a bit of humor, and he turned to the guy, I think it was Rupert, next to him, and just went nothing, as in no crowd reaction at all. And then they went crazy for Al-Bakkali, and they had all the dignitaries there. And I just thought it was an awesome performance from a guy who that would have really bruised his ego last year, losing the way he did. And I remember that frantic little scurry he did when he realized he was going to lose, because he came out of nowhere. And obviously he's incredibly mentally tough to have put that aside and come back. And that race for him is like probably third only to the world champs in the Olympics in terms of significance, because it's in his hometown.
Totally.
And I just thought the way he ran and controlled that race, and I think he could have run quicker if he wasn't making sure he didn't lose to the Kenyan, was just cool to watch. I think it was like a real signature performance from him.
Yeah, it was. No, totally agree, because that's like, you talk about inflection points or season. That could have been another one where after, the run getting broken, the streak of championship wins that he's had, he was just like, I've had enough, I'm done. But to come back and way under 8 minutes to get a tough win in front of the dignitaries, that was pretty sweet.
If they ever wanted like a sort of a second cousin of the Joker to carry on the Joker's narrative in Morocco, they could. Al-Bakkali, he's got that incredible kind of villainous face. And he's very villainous face, and he's a very animated character in victory or defeat. It looks like he's going to cry. I think he did cry, didn't he, when he lost the Olympics? He was smashing the track.
World champs, he did.
World champs, sorry. And then when he wins, he really, like, you could tell even though he's won so much, it still makes him like happy in a kind of infantile way. And I just think he's a great character for the sport. He's awesome.
Tell you who wasn't, or a couple of guys who weren't in tears after he lost the world championships were you and I. BT. Moving on, women's 800, Audrey Vero, 156.56. She gets the win. I know you've been extremely bullish on her for quite a while, Shane, and great start to the season there, as she could be, speaking of villains, she could be a villainous figure in the big season of Keeley, which we'll talk about in a second, over the 800. But she beats world champ Lilian Odera, who just does not seem to have recaptured any semblance of form that took her to a 156.6 win in those championships last season. But
154.6.
Oh, sorry, 154.6. Yeah, exactly. So great performance there. Shane Rome, Diamond League. It was kind of at an odd spot during the week on a Thursday, which again jam-packed this week with action on the Diamond League circuit. Kick it off with the men's 100. Noah Lyles, pretty incredible, man, to win this 100 meters. He's only a month away from turning 29, 9.88. He gets the win over all those dudes, including hometown hero Marcel Lamont Jacobs. But just in general, I know clearly after last week, you're not overly high on the sprinting.
No, I enjoyed that race. That was cool.
You enjoyed that? Well, turnaround.
No,
maybe that.
No, that was, I thought, again, a bit like Al-Bakkali, to be the guy, and there's sort of some question mark or uncertainty around the level he's at. And it was a big race, obviously, with Jacobs there at home. And it's Rome. And I thought the way he ran was very composed when he was behind, and the way he shot out of the cannon the last 25 meters was cool to watch. I enjoyed that one.
He's the modern day Carl Lewis, isn't he?
Yes.
Speaking of last week's
he's the best, but like Carl Lewis, he's the best athlete in the sprints, like overall. Like he moves the nicest, and he stays very composed, and mechanically he's superb from what I can see. And it was cool to see. It was good to see. Interesting
though, just in general, sprinting as a whole. I will say this, I don't want to put a downer on his performance, but it does feel like sprinting is unfortunately moving a little bit backwards there. 9.88 for the win in a Diamond League. Obviously, when we look at the world record, sitting at 9.59, which is well over a decade and a half old now. And I think the fastest time in the last decade, Shano, dates back to 2025. So it's actually 2015. It's over a decade now. Justin Gatlin, he ran 9.74 in Brussels. We haven't had anybody best that within the last 10 plus years. Just feels for whatever reasons that things in the sprinting world, it's not that the races are getting less exciting or less intriguing, but definitely these times are pulling back. We seem to be trending further and further away from ever seeing that world record be even threatened. I mean, nobody under 9.7 in over 10 years. Yeah. These are the things that always just jump into my mind when I see these performances.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we digress. Moving forward, women's 1500, your girl, Georgia Hunter-Bell. You went over to Melbourne and watched her unleash there. She wins in 3:58. Good win. Not a super stellar field there, I believe, but a good win for Georgia Hunter-Bell. But Shane, we get on to the two most...
She's moving in the right direction, though, in terms of she was tired when she raced Claudia Hollingsworth in Melbourne and Trevor Painter. I think they're just so clever with how they do everything, and she's just moving. And she won that at a canter, and it was just quite an easy performance for her.
Yeah. But the two big events of the night, I think definitely for us, and certainly with season-long implications, men's 800 meters, as always. Gabe Meister 2L, he gets the win, 1:43.66 from the ageless Mark English, who comes through again. He's already won a DL this year. He's staking a case to be the most consistent Diamond League performer in the men's 800 already this year. Shane, incredible that this guy is running so well at the age he is. I mean, has anybody in the history of this event potentially known their body and what it's capable of and its limitations and how to get the absolute most out of it more than Mark English? He might deserve a spot on the GOAT list. I started to think about this in terms of like volume of fast races and span, and I could only think of potentially Johnny Gray that's had a longer career at the top than Mark English, because his runs, this is just incredible sort of second half of his career revival. So probably big shout out to guest and friend of the podcast, Justin Rinaldi, who's done an amazing job with Mark. And one thing I noted from this race, really interesting stat, opening 100 for Mark English in this one, 13.1 seconds. It was the slowest in the field. He then ran the fastest closing 100 meters at 13.0. So a negative 1/10 differential. Donovan Brazier, on the other hand, Shane, 12.5. It was equal fastest. I think it was second fastest, opener in the field, only a 10th behind Mizian, the other Frenchman in the race. But he closed in a 14 flat. So a massive 1.5 second differential there, which just shows the difference in the excellence of execution. I don't have my Brett the Hitman Hart card with me right now. Otherwise, I would give it to Mark English, because that is spotless execution. I showed you the screenshot, the conversation I had with Justin, where he said that they were talking about that exact same thing prior to the race and at lunch on the day of the race. So this is something that these guys are planning to do and just executing so well. Thoughts on English?
Oh, amazing. And it was amazing. The other race he ran 1:43, and when he slid through for the one, it's good to see. And talked about this at the beginning of the podcast. The 800 is an event that is a better forum, or the best forum of the middle distances, to bring all of the attributes you require or factors to win a race. You need obviously that athletic ability. You need speed, strength. You need aerobic strength. You need tactical acumen, and I think more than anything else, you need to hold your nerve when others don't. And I think it was a Coe or someone famously said you only get one move in the 800, and so he's able to run along at so on that razor edge in terms of going like into a cascading level of oxygen deprivation and lactic acid buildup, that once you shoot your shot, you're done. And so he seems to be able to trundle along. He's got a great trundling style, and then to very evenly dole out that effort at the end and get to the finish line quicker than just about everybody else. So it's a masterclass, and your friend Justin obviously is great at preparing him, and they're living and learning through the trial and tribulations of all his other 800-meter athletes, and he obviously loves the game. He loves the sport, so it's cool. It's like a shrine to the 800. Doing the way he slithered through I forget where it was, the first 1:43 this season. The way he slithered through was just like a video game.
Shanghai, I think, or
Shanghai.
Yeah, I think it was Shanghai. Yeah,
right. And the way he went, sort of almost like in a video game, he dodged the bodies where they were just tying up.
Yeah.
Just on that note, though, Brazier and Hoppel, I've got a kind of, it's a very silly legal word or fancy word, bifurcated, which means effectively dualistic take on these guys. I don't think they're in very good shape for this year, and I don't think they're going to have a great season, but I don't think either of them are done, and this is why.
Okay.
I think Brazier had that, it's a macro version of what Keely sometimes struggles with when she's been injured, or she comes back and she goes up and then she comes down because all the sort of exuberance of coming back is dopamine and all that, and then it's harder. So he's dealing with that though on a much more scaled or protracted basis, having been out a hell of a lot longer than Sheva's ever been out. Now he's having to live through. It's like when you go to the gym and you do a few sessions and you're like, I feel pretty good, and when you haven't been for 10 years like myself right now, and then at week 2 you're like, oh my god, how am I going to get this up? So he's struggling, I think, with that. Having said that though, he's still at around world level. If he hadn't had that crazy comeback at the beginning of last year and he came back and ran at this level and we're only assessing him now, you'd still say that's amazing. So I think mega talented, one of the most talented 800 runners ever. And I think if he can just keep racing at this level this year and stay healthy, I think he could do very well in the next 2 years in targeting the Olympics.
Well, in the same way that you disagreed with me earlier, I'll disagree with you here. For that exact point, Shane, I just, with Keely, it was obviously on a much smaller scale. You're right. So this is on a much greater holistic scale. This is, he didn't miss 3.5 months of a season. He missed 3.5 years. And I do 100% agree with you is that when you come back, you just had potentially this, almost like this tangle or this ball of emotional relief, energy, excitement, this wave that just unleashed itself, in his performances. And I just wonder if at his age now, and I think this is where the age thing does matter. And a lot of people will say, and I think it worked in his favor, not a lot of tread coming off the tires in the last 3.5 years, especially for an undertrained guy like him. But I don't know how sustainable it really was. I'm beginning to get the feeling, and I don't know, this is just a gut feeling. I'm just getting the feeling that maybe 2025 is just this perfect storm of pent-up emotional energy, excitement. I'm finally back on the track, relief, exuberance of almost what it's like when you realize that you're good at running as a kid and that you can run and win and run fast, and that good feeling running fast. And I think that a combination of like that physical, so his physiology coming back and playing ball once again, I just don't know if he's going to be able to sustain it. I don't think he's going to run poorly for the rest of the year. He hasn't run poorly already. Like you just said, he's run 3 times under 145. He's run 143.06. What was it? And what did I say? Yeah, it was 143.06 in Rabat, and he backed it up here. But when I just look at the way that he's racing, and I gave those numbers just before, 12.5 for the opening 100, he really ate it hard in this one here, trying to match it with these guys. Only Nathan Green, who was kind of surprisingly in the field and not an 800-meter guy at all. Only Nathan Green ran slower in the final 100 than Donovan Brazier. And unlike those races last year where he was still mixing it up, he visibly went backwards in this one. And again, not jumping to conclusions, and he could completely vindicate you and prove me wrong, but I just wonder if this is kind of the beginning of the end for Brazier at the top level. Fully expecting him to run well this season, but I don't think he's going to scale the heights that we saw in 2025 again. That's just my take.
Do I get the athletes court rebuttal?
Yeah, do it.
The unilateral rebuttal.
Yes.
It could go either way, and I think you make very persuasive points, and I wouldn't be putting any of my hard-earned on a bet with you over it, because odds on that will be the way that he goes, because that is the it's harder to overcome what you're talking about in terms of if you had to wager on it, you'd say it's more, because it was very unlikely he made the comeback he did last year. But the reason I'm so bullish is, or I'll put it this way, the reason I'm bullish about this situation where ordinarily I would completely agree with you is I've noticed that a lot of the people who I would say aren't mega talented some of the women in the middle distances who are not at that faith, well, no one's at their faith level, but at the faith or Jessica, or even actually that actually applies to Jessica Hill. But some of these women who get to a very, very high level, and Hill's actually a great example of that. They are not mega talented in terms of the way they move or their basic speed or even their speed strength, but through years of attrition of building an aerobic profile through very good volume and staying healthy, they can get to this level where they are world beaters. And I think Hill's a good example of that. Courtney Frerichs, someone like her, Coburn, all these sort of people. When they then get injured or go and have a child or something like that, they just never get back to those heights because their ultimate expression as an athlete was from years of layer on layer of aerobic ability. With Brazier, we're talking about someone who ran 143 when he was, 18 or 19, with precious little aerobic training. We're talking about someone who ran 334, 335 with a kick down, and he's still not aerobically that well trained and never will be because I don't think his body can handle that. He's not that type of athlete. We're talking about someone who came back and ran 142 when he just couldn't have run. And the reports are he didn't run for a long, long, long time. Yeah. Like you said, no tread on the tires. The age thing, yes, but look at Mark English. So I put it this way. I don't disagree with you, but I think if anyone can do it, it's Brazier. And I think that's why, because he's not relying on just, and I read this thing about, who was talking about, was it his coach or was it Ronaldo or someone saying that the way he moved as an athlete, just walking along and striding out, is like nothing else they'd ever seen. It was either Justin,
I think it was Mike Smith. No, it might have been Mike. Yeah.
It was Mike Smith saying he moves in a way which is just, and we all know what that's about, that aura. Like I'm going to watch LeBron James or Luka Doncic play basketball. They move in a way that's kind of almost an art form. I remember seeing a video on about golfers and how they, their body moves in synchronicity. And there was this video watching Rory McIlroy just walk between a tee box and saying, look at the way his lateral movement, the way he actually, it's all natural. So yeah, I think if anyone can do it, it's Brazier.
Okay. Time will tell. We shall see. Shane, the other big event on in Rome with probably greater, more relevant implications in this season, because I'm not sure if Donovan Brazier is going to ever break the world record, of course, was Keely Hodgkinson in that 400 meters. Everybody knows the performance by now. 51.14, as predicted by this guy to a degree. I think I said 51.08, so I was pretty close on that one.
Very good on that one.
Thank you. Thank you, Shane. Shane, does this change anything for Keely this season with respect to either her world record chances, her chances of running under 154? I think just in general, there was a lot of hype around this one here. Could she run under 50? I want to talk about a video that actually I just watched about 20 minutes before doing the pod with you. We'll talk about that at the end on this training session that she did, where there was all this chatter about things adding up to a big sub 50 performance. But does this change anything for you, for her prospects for the rest of the season?
I don't know the answer.
Good or bad?
I don't know the answer to that, because to know the answer to that, you'd have to have seen the equivalent race at that level in other seasons.
Right.
And then you could assess that versus, let's say, the 25 or 24 or 22 version of what she could do where she was flat out in an open outdoor 400. So without having that control to compare this effort to, what I will say, though, is I wasn't very impressed. I think that we talked about this as to why she was doing it.
Right.
She looked like a fish out of water. She was her natural flowing gait at 800 clip was she was rushed and like full on, like kind of almost tying up at 200, and then didn't, and I think it shows why, Jason, she always struggles with that third 200, because this reveals that she's a lot closer to her max at 400 than perhaps we think, because she's got this beautiful, there was a good comment on Let's Run the other day saying, oh, maybe she's actually a 358, 356 runner, and then someone came on. There's a lot of nonsense on there, and I struggle with it sometimes, but every now and then when I've exhausted every other constructive thing I think I could do with my time, I go and have a bit of a, a bit of a look on there and see a few of your posts. But I tell you what, someone came on with a really insightful comment and said, I don't think she's either. She's not really a great 400 or 15. She's just got that natural 800 meter ability. That's her thing. And I think, if anything, it means I'm less bullish about her certainly breaking the world record or perhaps even being able to break 154, but I wouldn't count her out because she's a pure 800 meter talent.
From my side, changes zero, absolutely nothing for this season. This was, I mean, she literally ran the performance within 6 100s to what I thought she would do. So it doesn't change anything at all, which is she has an infinitesimally small chance of breaking the world record. In fact, honestly, Shane, she has zero chance of breaking the world record. She will not break the world record. She will not run under 153.28. There is so much anecdotal evidence to support this from looking at what her current sub 155 performances are. The closer that she gets to 56.0 seconds for the first 400, the worse that she actually runs in the second. I don't know how you overcome that, and you certainly don't overcome that with 400 meter speed. So it doesn't change that for me at all. It doesn't also change the fact that, like you, I believe she can, if she runs a really well executed race, she can break 154, and that's it. And the reason
that
why
was incredible, right? Because the people who ran 153, the lady, there was so much scuttlebutt about, not even scuttlebutt, let's be honest, anecdotal evidence around how she did that. And what was she, a 47 high 400 meter runner?
Yeah, 47.99.
4 seconds up his sleeve on Keely. 3 seconds, 3.5 seconds.
But, you know, but that's not the determining factor. Because if the speed just was the determining factor, and we're potentially saying that Keely can run 153.9x or something to that degree, then really Kratovic should have run 150. But that's not the thing which is holding Keely back in this one. And just on this race, Shane, the reason why I was not as bullish as some people, some people were predicting sub 50 for her, which was absolutely insane. People predicting under 50 and a half. A lot of chat about, hey, she ran 51.5 indoors. Well, first of all, there's not that big of a difference for an athlete of her body mass and running speed between running indoors and out. And the big difference between running indoors and out is obviously the tightness of the curves and how centripetal force affects you going around the curves. You know, your body wants to stay in a straight line. You're forcing it to go around and curve. You've got to overcome the effort that it takes to get yourself around the curve. She's just not running fast enough, and she's also not big enough to be making a massive difference, especially with a banked curve. So that was number one. But you mentioned it too. She looked like a bit of a fish out of water, and she was already looking kind of toasted in the first 200. And I can tell you, Shane, from experience, as a 800-meter runner who had okay 400-meter speed, almost the worst thing for me to do was to actually get into a 400-meter race against actual 400-meter runners that had the ability to run so much faster in the first 200, because when they are, she was lane 2, right? When you consciously see them running away from you in the first 200, you can tell yourself as much as you want to relax, to stick to the game plan, to stay smooth. It is so hard to do it. And you know what's interesting, Shane, now I think about this? That race at National Championships, this was glory days talk here, all the way back where I ran 48.3 at National Under-20s, which was a big PR for me at the time, kind of a breakthrough performance. Do you know what I realized was so good about that race for me? I was in lane 7. I couldn't see anybody on the inside of me basically until the final 100. And I think that was a big advantage for me, because as an 800 guy, it meant that I didn't over-index myself. So when I saw that Keely was in lane 2, she's running against seasoned 400-meter runners, it just wasn't the formula of race for me that she was ever going to run incredibly well in, and hence that's why we said why
she's doing it. It's pretty obvious. It's like she was 24-1 or whatever. So it's not like she could have gone through. What's the alternative? Like, go through in 25, and she's not going to break. Definitely not going to break 51.5. So it was hard to win out of that.
No, I know. And Shane, I mentioned this earlier about the video that I just saw. I'll get your thoughts on this too. Did you see that one where they were analysing her training session? I think the BBC was there, and Trevor Painter and Jenny Meadows were there, and I think she did some kind of 250 plus 150 meter workout with a pause in it, and allegedly some permutation of the times was leading to like a 49.6 400 meters. I've got to tell you, Shane, there was one little sort of tidbit in there that I heard come out of the mouth of Trevor Painter. And I don't know Trevor I respect his work. He's got an amazing group. He's probably doing something that I wish I could do, have an amazing group of global, like, middle distance superstars, and he's leading them to Olympic medals and world championship medals, all these things. But there's one thing that he said that I really disagreed with, and I got the semblance that they felt that her 400-meter ability was absolutely crucial to her breaking the world record. And that's why they were doing this race, and that's why they were focusing so much on Red Point. And Chano, I got to say this, with all due respect to Trevor, he may know more than me. I completely and utterly disagree with that. I don't believe that Keely's basic speed, which even at 51.0 seconds is more than good enough to be able to run, say, a 56 or a 55.5 first lap and then go on and potentially run 153. It's actually not her speed. It's not her anaerobic capacity or her anaerobic power, which is the issue, because it's never going to be good. It's what her threshold is, and the way that you work that is by over distance. So I just feel they would be much better off, maybe not even training her as a 1,500-meter runner, but let's say even a 1,200-meter runner. That, to me, is where the world record would come from, not the 400.
I don't agree with you.
Okay.
I think that, but I don't agree with them either, and here's why. This is real glory days. Glory days, but it wasn't even glory days. But this is just, we'll just call it going back in history. Right. So you were a 47 high, 48 electronic as a junior. And when I finally got my life sorted out a bit, ran some okay, respectable times for the late 90s, early 2000s. Remember my coach timed me in on like a time trial over 400 and like 51 flat up at Bays, 10 o'clock in the morning on my own. So I reckon I could have run 50.5, say. In fact,
absolutely
definitely could have run at my best. So, and I was a 152 flat runner, but you were a 48.3 electronic, when you're 17 or an 18-year-old. You never really had to work too much on your speed because you were a pure 800-meter runner. I know you did do some stuff, but you weren't training like a sprinter. When you talked about Kratok-Veleva not being that important, but she's still running 47 electronic. You've got Moo, who never probably did that much sprint training, never much training at all, it probably turns out, ran 49.4 electronic. So I think having experientially for myself, running against you and running, 152 when we raced in Hastings and you ran out of season like 149 or something, like for me going through in 53.5 or something, which I actually did that day, is so close to my maximum I can run, and I've got to run another whole lap. I just think that it does matter. But here's where I disagree with the painters. And what do I know? I mean, they're coach the Olympic champion. It's just it's just our opinion, and we do it for fun.
100%.
I don't think you can make someone who is, say, myself, a 51 runner, or Keely, a 51 runner, and you, a 48, or Kratok-Veleva or Moo. I don't think you can make her into a 49 talent or 48 talent. I think the shorter the distance, the more athletic or, talent-based factors come into it. You saw her. She looked like she was shuffling. She looked like a really average national class 400 runner, the ones they throw in because that's their home nation, like from Italy or, wherever they have the Diamond League. So she just looked totally, and you didn't know it was Kelly Hodgkins, and you go, oh, God, that chick's going to get pumped today. And whereas the other ladies were all graceful and cruising. So, I just don't think you can. So I think I do actually agree with you to the extent that don't focus on improving it, because you're not going to. Yeah. Focus on and that's what Bob Kersey was trying to do with Nothing New as well. He realized is that there's no point trying to improve it, because it's kind of is what it is within reason. Because if you, sorry, this is a bit of a rant, but if you, I'm very passionate about this sort of stuff. So if you're one of these 800-meter runners, the amount of work and the type of work you would need to do to actually improve that 400 in a meaningful way, detract so much from the whole energy system that you need to run 800, which is an 800
good over 800 to begin with.
1500, exactly. So I don't think they've got that. Here's a hot take for you to finish all this off. I think Georgia Hunter-Bell could win the world champs next year and all the Olympics, and I'll tell you why. I had money on her last year, full disclosure, to win that world champs, and I was still hoping that Odera would get disqualified for some or other reason, because it was such a flash in the pan. But she outlent Keely, and she can change speed, and she's a 154 lady or just under 155 lady herself now. Right. And I think Keely and Audrey Vero, and I never got to put this in because we moved on before, Vero's Vero's biggest problem is, while she is awesome, and I think she's awesome, she's another Keely. She's another long speed, long limbed, cruising speed, just close to the razor to get it right, 800-meter runner. Whereas a Hunter Bell or someone with that more explosive ability to change speed and the aerobic profile to last the rounds and run well tactically is a real threat.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And to wrap up what I'm also saying as well regarding Keely, I just think that if she was much better over 1,500 meters, because we don't know what she's capable over 1,500 meters, my guess would be it would kind of be around that 405, 406 mark. Is that what your gut feeling is for her? I feel like that's what she could run. And I know you're going to say, but hold on, Athling Moo, she ran 403. But
no, I wasn't going to say that.
Oh, okay. Sorry, putting words in your mouth. But I mean, a lot of people might argue that and say, well, hang on a minute. I think Moo can run 403. Why couldn't Keely Hodgkins? And Moo was also a 49-second 400-meter runner. I think what you've really got to look at is what could she do like right now? If you stuck her into, let's say she ran that 1,500 meters with Georgia Hunter Bell in Rome, what do you think she might have run? My gut feeling is she's about a 405, 406 level. I just don't think that is anywhere near good enough. She's the only way she can get down close to the world record or really dip deep into the 153 territory is if she actually extends her anaerobic threshold to be longer in the race. There's no point in her keeping her anaerobic threshold where it is now and saying, hey, we're going to improve what our power output is once we get into that anaerobic zone, and then how long we can go, which is the capacity. I don't think she can improve that. I think she's just got to work on extending that, and the only way that you do that is through over-distance work. Hence why I think running these 400s, giving a shit about running under 50 is just a complete and utter waste of time. And that's where I was a little bit stunned to hear that TP was kind of so adamant that the 400 meters meant that much to her. That was all.
If you go and look at, I remember those Jack Daniels, those VDOT tables and the IWF scoring tables, they're pretty good at, how do I put it, correlating event performances in the level. And I read somewhere that she ran 206 and 430 when she was 15 or 16 before she broke through. Yeah. So I haven't gone and looked it up, but intuitively that 800, that 1500 feels under index compared to 206. Remember when we were younger, when the ladies would run like 430, they might be a 212 runner or 214 runner if they're well coached and got some aerobic ability. So she's probably more the pure 800 type. We could be wrong. Maybe she is a 4-minute runner and she just, but here's another point though. I think to make the point about Keely, I think Moo barely scratched the surface. If anyone was going to break that world record, it was Moo. I think what we're seeing is that she was so damn talented, but you know, she couldn't hold it together, and Keely can. So props to Keely.
Yep. So Shane, to round out the triple of the Diamond League this week, we've got Stockholm coming up on Sunday in a day's time. Yep, tomorrow. Man, that was a pretty in-depth discussion there on those first two meets. I didn't know we'd go that long, but I love it. Let's just focus on this men's 1,500 meters here, because I think that's the most interesting event. We've got Cooper Lichtenhouse debuting in the 800. That is also interesting to me. But it's his first race of the season, kind of outdoors, coming off other than this 1,500 meters that he ran in LA, which I don't think really told us that much since winning the world indoor title. But it's really this men's 1,500 where there's been a lot of hype on, because Cam Myers, I guess you could say, without a doubt, the best men's middle distance runner throughout the first 3 or 4 months of this year. He's going to make his European debut. So much chatter now exploding across the message boards. Our good buddy Rojo at letsrun.com says he is expecting a 327 performance at least coming out of Stockholm. Shano, how does this one go down? We spoke about him earlier, Jared Nagoose. He's running the 1,500 meter there, coming off this win in Rome. What do you think? Coming off the win, in Rome, or was it Rabat? Getting mixed up. Either way, Myers is running this 1,500 there. What are you expecting from him? Do you think we're going to see at least a 327 from him in Stockholm? And now there's even chatter that he may be a key contender or protagonist to break potentially the world 1,500 meter record this season, or the mile. What do you think about that?
I was with a friend of the podcast, one of our most loyal, if not our only loyal, subscribers, Steve Scopes, in 2001 in Melbourne at Olympic Park, and I watched Hisham El Garouge duel with Bernard Lagat and run the Australian all-comers record the year after the Olympics, 3:31 low. I was also at a different stadium in Melbourne about 2 months ago to watch Cam Myers run 3:30.4 and beat Adam Spencer, who was the world indoor bronze medalist a week earlier. Admittedly, he would have been tired by 7 seconds, and he did most of the damage over the last probably 600 meters, 700 meters. That day, I changed my view a little bit on Myers. I'd always thought he was a good time trialist, probably an early developer in terms of his maturity and his physical ability, and was going to be a very, very good runner in the mold of Ron Clark, who couldn't get it done in championships. That day, he's still only 19. I was so impressed by him to run faster than Hisham. Admittedly, it's 20 years later, but so what? He still did it. To the Aussie champs, the 144. I think Rojo is a good businessman. I think he loves coming out and saying something like that, because then it makes you think, shit, could he? And I thought, I clicked on it because I was like, whoa, could he do it? And then I thought, like, shout out to, I know you know those guys a little bit, Jason. I don't. Shout out to Galt, though. I thought his rebuttal was superb. And it was basically like, if rather than listen to me prattle on for 95 seconds about all the reasons why I think it's a bit of a hype take, clickbait take is to read all Galt's reasons. And Galt still says, yes, he thinks he probably could maybe some point this season run 3:27. As for the world record, I mean, I think we're, given all the lack of the EPO test and given how long anyone struggled to run a 3:26.0, I mean, just the way he moves. I mean, I know a lot of the younger guys they shuffle a bit more than the flowing El Garouge style. To me, if anyone's going to do it, it's someone more with like the Josh Kerr running form, but even he's a little bit more of a punch sort of athlete in the championships than a totally flowing athlete. I'd say no, but I wouldn't be shocked if he did break the mile world record one day. He's only 19. Yeah.
Well, I think as for 3:27 in Stockholm, historically that'll be very difficult. Interesting stat showing of all the major European venues that hold diamond leagues, the track record in Stockholm is significantly slower than every other venue. So when you go to Zurich, you have 3:26.45, El Garouge back in 98, 3:26.12 at Brussels, 3:26 flat, asterisk, in Rome. A lot of these venues, Oslo 3:27.95, Silesia 3:27.1, Stockholm track record 3:29.3 from Hisham El Garouge all the way back in 1997. And this is despite obviously Stockholm getting stellar fields every single year. Then, of course, they don't run the men's 1,500 meters there every single year. But kind of you would have expected over the course of the last 28, 29 years that there may have been a 1,500 meters there that was actually under 3:29. Now, the reasons for that, completely unknown. One interesting point, the stadium is a little bit tighter than some of the other stadiums traditionally on the circuit, slightly longer straights, slightly tighter curves, which I think for the men running at the speeds that they do is kind of impactful. Whether that's an issue or not remains to be seen. I think still 3:27. To your point, I think you were kind of making this point a little bit earlier. I think we are so spoiled now by the depth of talent and all these guys running so fast that we just think times like under 3:28 are easy to come by, and they're not. They're still so much has to go right for you to run 3:28. Now, could that happen for Cam Myers and the field, maybe even Yared on Sunday? Yes, it could, but the odds are against it. I think as well, it's his first big 1,500 meter tilt of the season. He may not even win the race. But I think 3:27, I would be extremely impressed if those guys ran under 3:28 there. Though I do think, Shano, that the track record could go down. Like, I wouldn't surprise me if we saw like a 3:28.8 or 3:28.7 performance there. As for the world record, man, that's tough. I think there's a reason why the world record has existed for as long as it has. There's a reason why in the last 25 plus years, only 2 men, one of them who was caught for EPO, have even broken 3:27. Is it in the cards for Cam? Maybe not the 15. I mean, who knows? Who knows? I totally agree with you. He is only 19. Maybe just things will spur him on to greatness. The mile world record is definitely more achievable. But yeah, as for Stockholm, once again, I think that's my prediction. I think he'll be somewhere in the 328 high range, and I think he will get the win because I think he's on fire. He's 144 flat in that recent 800 in a small meet in Germany. Awesome performance, but I think Rojo is just getting a bit excited there. He was frothing, trying to get some clickbait, but Jono set him straight. Good article.
It's crazy how good he is now. Right. He ran 727. I think he could run quicker. 144, like probably pretty perfect for him, but he wasn't lane 2 a lot of the way. So I'm going to say at a minimum he could run as fast as Alan Webb ran. What did he ran? 143.8. So
143.6, I think.
143.84. Pretty good on these. Look it up.
All right. Carry on with your point. I'll tell you if you're right on it.
I think at the minimum he could do that. I think he really speaking, I think he can run 143.25, say, in a diamond league where they're all running high 142s and he just gets on the back of the train.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, in miler style and just clicks it off.
Well,
he ran, he ran 13.11 to win the Aussie 5K. So his 5K has improved enormously in the last 12 months. What
did you say his 800 PR was?
143.84.
Yeah, here. This is why you're the man, Shana. This is why I cannot ever challenge you, or I very rarely strike up enough courage to challenge you on these 2 to 100ths times. 143.84 is Alan Webb's PR, and yes, I agree with you. That's probably what Cam Myers is capable of in a solid, clean 800. Yeah. Yep.
Or maybe a bit quicker, and then you've got the 3 and the 5K ability. And he looked smooth and calm in that 330 at the what's it called, the Maury Plant meet. Adam Spencer, who I've always thought's a great talent too. He just made him look like second rate. That I know Spencer was tired from the World Indoors and all that, but he beat him by bloody 50 meters. Yeah, and it was so impressive. He was cruising at like 56 speed. It was not. It was just like it was almost El Garouge, or probably more Leggett, but Leggett sort of bobbed along a bit like Myers. It was kind of African-esque from the early 2000s. It reminded you of it. And he did a little look back like people like El Garouge or Morsley would do when they're not at full tilt in a race like that, when they're just, they know they're not going to run massively and they're focused, but they're also wanting the win. And he just did the little sneaky look back at 1200 and he saw daylight and he just relaxed and just, so I think I put it this way, like without Rojo's sort of shock and awe tactics at the headline, the clickbait headline, do I think he could run 327X this year? Absolutely. I think he can.
100%. I mean, if Adazine Habs and Fanuel Koech can run under 328 as they did last year, then Cam Myers, he of 144 flat, 727 indoors, can absolutely do that. And by the way, he is also, don't forget this, he is the World National Championships 1500 meter world record holder.
Is that right?
Yeah. We announced that one on the podcast. These are the stats that we're famous for. No human in history has ever won a national championships over 1500 meters faster than 330 actually. So Cam Myers in doing that is.
What about the US champs one year with Hocker and
no? US, the fastest one I can remember was 2024, that US trials year, and Cole won it in 330 point something. So pretty quick. But I know this for a fact, Jonah, because I looked it up. Unless you want to bet me on it, which I'd be happy to take a bet for you.
I'll ponder. No, I thought that one of the years someone ran like low 330s, but no, you might be. I think you. I think
you might be right, Shane.
I might not be. I like to be certain, Jason.
Would you put $50 on it?
Oh, not if you've recently researched it, but although
I just told you that to scare you off. Oh, well, you think about it. Let me know.
I know one of those championships was 330ish. I remember seeing it and being impressed.
100%. But 330 isn't 329. Or is it?
But he didn't run 320. Oh no, he did. Sorry, I'm a fool. Yes. I was thinking the Maury Plant time, 330.4.
No, Cam Myers ran 329 at the.
Well, this is all much ado about nothing, Jason. God, I almost had my pants pulled down unceremoniously. Yeah, 329. Of course. Oh.
Damn, I nearly had you. That would have been a classic stitch up. That was like
Got
the
to be
title.
classic Stu Kerr. I stitched myself up outside
the
Mia Piaci pizza restaurant, or whatever it was called, One Red Dog pizza restaurant in Takapuna.
Well, that's right. Do you remember the infamous one in El Garouge's World 2000 meter record, where I thought that the 1 lap to go point was actually a mile, 1609 meters, when it was actually 1600 meters. That cost me a bet, and I stitched myself. But you nearly did the same. Shane, okay, I think we have finally done with the triple of the Diamond League races over the last 7 or 8 days.
I've got about 13 minutes before I need to go and get it.
Shane, because you know what fits absolutely perfectly into 13
Athletes
minutes.
Court?
Yes, you're right, Shane. It is now time for Athletes Court. Cue the music. Tech team. Shane, I've got a really good... I felt, as you felt guilty for crashing and burning my Usain Bolt versus Carl Lewis.
Yeah, I did feel
last week. I also felt a little bit bad too, because I know you're not a sprinting / 100 meters aficionado. You're right. Your heart is in the middle distances. So I felt a little bit guilty for potentially putting you on the spot there. So Shano, if you would allow me some redemption today of sorts, I have got an absolute beezer for you today in the Athletes Court, and I promise this is a really, really good one. Yeah, did you do one for me?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see if we can get through both of these. I'll go first, though. I'll redeem myself. You're going to love this one. Hopefully we don't have the same. But these two athletes are so incredibly close, and there are amazing cases to be made for both. So Shane Rody, today for Athletes Court, we are going to the men's 800 meters, an event near and dear to our heart, the men's 800 meters. And this is only for the 800 meter event. You'll see why this is relevant. But Shane, today you get to pick between Joachim Cruz and Sebastian Coe. Make your case for who the better / greater 800 meter runner only is out of Joachim Cruz and Seb Coe. Who are you going to pick? Oh, it's such a good one, isn't it? It's so good. The fans will love this. David McCarthy, Jordan Donnelly.
I'm going to go with Coe. I'm going to go with Coe.
Okay, Shano, you are up. Make the case that Sebastian Coe was greater over 800 meters than Joachim Cruz.
I'm a little bit fuzzy, so I need a little bit of input to avoid another throwing the toys out and not knowing it all. So Cruz won the Olympics, didn't he, in 1984?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what happened to him in 88?
Do I have to tell you? Because I think I know what happened. Silver medal behind Paula Ring. He was about half a second, I believe, from becoming the first man since Peter Snell. And he would be only the third man, because of course David Rudisha did this, to be able to go back to back in the
Did he win any world championships, Cruz?
I don't believe so.
Only two in that era, right? Yeah,
there was,
83,
but
87.
Yeah, but I think, and I'm pretty sure that he got a bronze medal in 83.
Okay,
I'm sure that he got a bronze. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
No, I think he got a bronze. I'm making the case for myself here. Do you want me to go first with Joachim Cruz?
I'll go first. I'm happy to go first. Yeah,
do it.
It might be a little bit weak, but I'll do my best. Okay. Lord Sebastian Coe, become a lord just by winning the Olympic Games. In fact, it turns out you don't even need to win the Olympic Games in the 800 meters to become a lord. You have to be a contender, and on a given day, just the same way in the NBA, people with multiple MVPs sometimes don't win a championship because the cards don't fall their way on a day. Hear what I said there, team? One day. Sebastian Coe had already won the Olympic 1500 meters. Sebastian Coe lost the Olympic 800 meters in somewhat extraordinary circumstances. He botched the race when he was the odds-on favorite the overwhelming favorite, the world record holder, Jason, I believe
Yes, he was. Yeah,
Yes,
he was world record holder at that time too.
Yeah. And and whilst he botched that race, and he also botched the 1978 European Championships, I believe it was, Jason, as well.
Yes.
Yep. When not only Ovet, but another, I think it was a Russian athlete, Olive Bayer, came storming past after he let it out at a suicidal pace.
Yes,
so
sub 50.
Coe's 800-meter record is not without blemish, but he did hold what was to young tackers like ourselves, Jason, and that whole era of track and field fans, a record which looked for a long time. I believe it was 16 years that he held that record.
Right.
141.73. It looked mythical. No one was, until Kip Cater came along, no one really looked like for most of the 90s. And this is during an era widely suspected to be enhanced by EPO use. No one looked like they could come close to Sebastian Coe's 141.73. I know you've got some conspiracy theory or perhaps theory about whether or not the timing was actually correct for that, because it did seem a little bit apocryphal, given how much quicker it was than his second fastest. But he did also run 142.28 and
3.3.
Oh, was it? Yeah, no, you might be right. Yeah.
That was the world record holder. World record from Oslo previously.
Yeah, so 142.33. He took the 800 into a different stratosphere than people like Dave Wattle winning the Olympics and the record in the mid 143s. He took it down into 141.7 and really was the pin-up boy for the distance runner who benefited from modernized training and was in the weight room, and David Peter Coe and David Martin took a much more sophisticated way of looking at the 800, and they took it out of the doldrums of the sort of Lydiard Snell era, where they thought every 800-meter runner should train like a marathon runner, which we now know is not nonsense, to be honest, because because Snell was arguably, or maybe perhaps Wattle was the last trained Lydiard sort of system trained Olympic champion 50, 60 years ago now. So anyway, I'm waffling a little bit because I don't know I can't really make a real great argument of the difference between those two. So I'm saying Coe because I picked him. To me, he stands out as the world record holder for a long, long time. Cruz did win the Olympics, and maybe to proper aficionados of the 800 like Jason Stewart, Cruz is the better 800-meter athlete. But I'll hand the mic over to Jason and give him his.
I'm gonna help you out a bit with Coe at the end and give you some more depth, because you were onto some really good concepts here. But Joachim Cruz, Olympic champion, that is we talk about this every week. It seems to come up, getting it right on the day. Not only did Joachim Cruz get it right on the day, he was able to beat the world record holder and Sebastian Coe on the day.
It was second, right?
Coe was second of that. Coe has 2 Olympic silvers, and
Crazy.
Cruz has the Olympic gold silver. And he was also able to break the Olympic record, 143.00, and kind of a really awesome race there back in LA 84. I think the other thing with Cruz too is that after those Olympic Games in 84, he had a 10-day period that went down at the time as probably the greatest period of 800-meter running. It was surpassed by Wilson Kipketer in 1997, but in the 10-day period back in 1984, Joachim Cruz ran 142.2 in Zurich, 142.3 in Brussels, and I may have got those two flipped around, and then 141.77 in Cologne, which of course at the time was only 4 100s outside the world record. I am not overly conspiratorial with respect to Coe's world record, because they did have multiple timers there, even though the electronic timing technically went out and they used photocell timing. I think there was enough evidence that he did actually run that time, but Joachim Cruz might feel a little bit hard done by, because there was sort of conversations that maybe Coe wasn't quite as fast as that, but I'm fine with it. So Shano, I just believe that Joachim Cruz, not as an overall runner, because obviously Sebastian Coe, 2-time Olympic 1500-meter champion, world mile record holder, 1000-meter world record holder, etc., was a better overall runner. But just as a 2-lap exponent, I feel like Joachim Cruz has his measure. Now, Shano, that being said, this is where I'm going to help you out. Sebastian Coe was the first man to take the 800-meter record under 143 And he was also the first man to take the 800-meter record under 142. And I don't think that you can discount that at all. And way back on a pod, I don't know if it was the Rinaldi pod, but I've definitely mentioned this before about Ko. He was 2 for 2 in world record attempts over the 800 meters. This was not like a Rudisha or Kipketer situation where those guys, or even now where the guys are targeting the world record on multiple occasions. Ko had so much on his plate going after the 1,000-meter record, the 1,500-meter record, the mile record, that he didn't really have that many. In fact, he only had 2. Like I said, he was 2 for 2. He only had 2 shots at going for the 800-meter world record, and he got them both times. And the other thing as well, where I 100% agree with you, is that he took the event into a stratosphere that we hadn't seen before. The concept of running under 50 seconds for the first lap, which was just something that wasn't really done before Ko came along. And I firmly believe, as does I believe Seb himself, that if he'd had more cracks at it, he could easily have taken that world record down very, very close to 141. A little bit unlucky. Of course, he did get the European Championship 800-meter win in 86, but that was his only real major success. He kind of struggled a little bit to handle the argy-bargy, so to speak, of 800-meter running of that era, which was a very, very physical era. A lot of big guys around, like Joachim Cruz, like Paul Ehring, even Ovett, who was a tough competitor. We saw what he did in that 80 final. But yeah, I'm going to make the case, and I believe that Joachim Cruz actually was a better, or so I'm going to say he was a greater 800-meter runner, because better might imply that he had a better top end to actually run the 2 laps. I don't think he did than Ko, but I think he was a greater runner.
I think that was a fantastic summary, exposition. No, it's very interesting to listen to, and it came, memories flooded back about watching that 1984 Olympic 800-meter final, and my overwhelming memory of it, or feeling coming from it, is Ko didn't really do anything wrong in that race. He was just beaten by a younger, basically better version of himself on the day. Right. He wasn't like you said, he was out muscled in some of those earlier races, but it wasn't really that in that race. He was just a guy who come along who's actually as fast as he'd ever run and was younger and fresher. And I think Ko did everything right, and it was a great setup to win the Olympic 1500 back to back. So yeah. No,
what did he run? He ran one. I'm just double checking this now, but he ran 143.6 or 143.8.
Definitely under 144. 143.64 was that Cruz's time.
Yeah, he done it again. He did. He ran 143.64. Hard to beat up on a guy for running 143.64 in an Olympic final. Certainly back in 1984. That vision in the race of Joachim Cruz as his stride appeared to get longer in the final 100 meters is just an all-time something etched into my mind, probably yours as well. It's the total opposite of what you see. Ko, tying up, holding on really well, but his stride getting smaller, and Joachim Cruz just seemed to get longer and longer in that home straight, and one of the great performances. But good athletes caught, Shade. I hope that redeemed the situation after last week. Do you have one for me before we wrap it up?
Yeah.
Or do you have to boost?
No, I'm good. I got 5 minutes.
All right.
Okay. You ready?
Yes.
Tirunesh Dibaba or Sifan Hassan?
I think I know what the easier one is here. I'm just going to take the easier one because I want to. It's Sifan Hassan. Yeah. Sifan Hassan, Shano, might actually be the greatest women's middle distance runner of all time. And I know people are going to go, what about Faith Kipyegon? Well, I did this breakdown earlier, like probably about 20 podcasts ago, about how the gap is actually far smaller than what it seems between the two in terms of just adding up their performances, like their point score over a range of different performances. When you actually look at the medal counts, it's not actually that different. But as much as Tirunesh Dibaba was a sort of, she broke the mold a little bit, because you had Meseret Defar around that time as well, who'd been a great runner. But Dibaba really took it to the next level. I know, didn't Athletics Weekly actually rate her as the greatest female middle distance runner ever, or the greatest women's?
Possibly, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised.
It was quite controversial. But Sifan Hassan, I mean, it's difficult to be able to reel off all the statistics, but world mile record on the track. She's run 350 under 353, 1500 meters. She had that incredible near triple at the Olympics in Tokyo. Yeah, I mean, again, this is a difficult one. When you get into these athletes, these modern athletes that just have so much on the table in terms of like their performances, like just the sheer volume of medals, it's very, very difficult to remember them all. But she's an Olympic champion, Shano. She's a world champion. She's a world record holder on the track. I know Dibaba was as well. But I just think in pure volume of work, the diversity, her ability over so many different distances. And now, of course, we've seen what she's done over the marathon.
Yep.
And did she break the world record? No, she didn't break the world record in the marathon, did she? But no, that's right. But she definitely has potential to. This is kind of I feel a little bit guilty. Maybe I'll do some research while you're.
Well, I'm having to look myself as well. Yeah, I'm pretty good with it, but I'm not like massively perfect with. Yeah,
but okay. Shano, I believe that Sifan Hassan is greater than Tirunesh Dibaba.
Okay, I think given the audacity of the 1500 10K double, which whether it's men or women is kind of. Right. You know, you could say the women's is slightly weaker at the top, although that's changed a lot in the last decade. But, you know, because I can't imagine Jakob pulling that double off and against the top 10,000 men. But still, she did it, and she did it against some, particularly in the 1500, great athletes.
Right.
And 351, and she walked away from those athletes in the 1500.
Right.
Or the attempted triple, winning the Olympic marathon and the Olympics after she did the double gold. I just think, and did she do two golds and a bronze in that 21 Olympics, wasn't it?
Yes, so just checking out the numbers here, that's right. That was probably the most astounding like championships that she had. She was the 1500 meter bronze medalist. She won the 5 and the 10, which is a very difficult double to do on its own without having run 3 rounds of the 1500. Bronze medalist in the 2024 10K and in the 2024 5K, and then of course won the marathon.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with it.
I know.
Just looking a little bit here at Dibaba. Yeah, I was looking at a bit Dibaba here because I just remember her winning everything when we were younger. And she world record holder 14:11 in the 5,000, 29:42. I think the big, tall, lanky girl from Ethiopia had run quicker by then. 29 as Ayana had run 29:17, I believe, in the 20 in that Olympics. But listen to this though. So Tirunesh Dibaba won 3 Olympic gold medals. She won 5 world championship golds and a bronze. She won 4 world cross country titles and got 2 silvers. And she won Chicago Marathon and was 2nd in London and 3rd in London and Berlin. You know,
that's pretty good.
And she did the 5:10 double at one Olympics as well.
Yeah, in 2008 she did the 5:10 double world championship. Yeah. She is a 3-time world 10,000 meter champion. And hold on a second. She won her first one in 2005 and her last one in 2013.
Yeah, and that's in the 10,000, but she won the 5,000 2003.
And that's probably why Athletics Weekly rated her so high, controversially highly. Actually, that's a lot better than what I thought. And I forgot about the cross country, Shano, because that's one of the things that we always say is huge with Kenesese Bekele, which points to his greatness and potentially gives him the edge over the likes of Geb. Just that those cross country chops of being so good over so many different surfaces. So again, she's like a world cross country champion, a world champion, and Olympic champion on the track, and also a major marathon winner as well.
She won her first gold medal at the World Champs in 2003, and she got silver in her last World Championships in London in 2017. It's 14 years.
It's a pretty high bar. It's a very high bar with Sifan Hassan, who again is right up there with Faith Kipyegon as the greatest women's runner of all time. But Shano, when you said Tirunesh Dibaba and then you said Sifan Hassan, I'm like, there is no way they're even close. but actually that is much, much closer on
Closer.
further analysis.
I agree. Hassan she has to get the nod by any objectively reasonable standard, but
Yeah.
it's not as much of a landslide as you think.
No, Turnish Dababa may be there on the Mount Rushmore, maybe in that 4th spot alongside Faith Kipyegon and Sifan right now.
Yeah.
I like that, Joy. That was a collaborative effort, Shano. It didn't feel as potentially as aggressive or as competitive as a classic athlete's court. I like that one. That was good.
Yeah. I think it's just because we didn't know our subject matter quite as passionately as we would if we're arguing about the difference between maybe Fumi and Cacho and
or nerdy Lorsali and Hisham El Garouge, yeah. Or David Rudisha and Wilson Kipkeita. That was good though, Shado. I enjoyed that one. Hey, looking forwards with the pod. I think you mentioned you're going to be out in the next couple of weeks. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm in Melbourne for some stuff for a few weeks. Maybe.
And the Track Stitch podcast technical team hasn't quite installed the.
We can't take our game on the road yet. We're a bit like the Spurs. Well, no, they won. They lost at home, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly. They're going to have to take their game on the road. Okay, well, let's see, Shano. Maybe the fans have been asking about the mythical Kerr. Who is this guy, Stu Kerr? It's not Josh Kerr. It's our buddy Stu Kerr. Maybe he'll
only
make
one thing worse than Josh Kerr. Stu Kerr. Yeah. And look, I don't know what the censorship filters are like on YouTube or Spotify these days, but they'll have to be pretty damn lax if that guy's content is going to make it out into the interweb, into the ether.
Oh, let's see. Anyway, Shado, I'll see if I can piece something together for the fans. See if we can get us up to over 100 subscribers. I think we're getting close. Quick fire up corner before you go. Test cricket, Shano. 2020's ruined it. What are we doing here? We're going to have another test inside 3 days. I think the New Zealanders might be saved by the rain here. Something's going on. It's just not the game that we grew up loving, is it?
I'm so glad that my journey with New Zealand cricket has trudged from disdain to apathy now to just total lack of awareness that's going on. I saw something the other day about it was a headline grabber because I needed some articles for work the other day because of something I'm dealing with the Herald, and it made me side premium to read about some freaking business owner that's in trouble that I need to deal with. Anyway, so I click on it, and so now I'm getting Herald updates and to go and turn it off. I was like, oh, that's rubbish. And it had like Black Caps only need 219 to win famous test victory at Lord's. And I thought, I didn't even know they were playing. So I clicked on it. And then, of course, seeing that they got 100 in the first innings and 200 and whatever they were like parading around as some achievable total was just total, a bit like Rojo. It was just total clickbait. I was like, I'm going to get 200. Now they're 50 for 5. I saw
55 for 5, saved by the rain. But this on the backs of the highly controversial. Speaking of controversial, Ashes series with all those test matches that couldn't even get through 3 days. And at some point, Shane, you only hear so much about how shitty the pitch is or the climatic conditions and the groundskeepers haven't done their job. And you've got to start asking, is it more than that? And is this just really about the attitudes and the mindset of the players? Now we live in this world where everything has to happen quickly. We've got no real ability to see anything through. In 2020, maybe just like this cancer that is 2020 in the game of cricket is finally starting to rear its ugly head in test cricket and is ruining the game of our childhood.
It is, but you can't have it both ways, Jason. You and some of your coterie of followers, aka Kerr, very quick to climb into the jittery, jabbering Stephen Smith, smudger, and give him all kinds of grief for his twitchy, nervous ADHD behaviour. But Stephen Smudger Smith, more than anyone else in the modern game, knows how to bat time. So does Manus, even though he's been out of shape. So these guys are playing proper test cricket. They've got the big quicks like Paddy Cummins charging in, Hazelwood getting some real, lift behind the ball and putting these palms on the back foot in the Ashes. And then they've got the likes of Smudger taking the shine off the ball and batting time and winning test series for the Aussies. So let's get bloody Brendan McCullum out of coaching roles and let's bring back David Gower or Sunil Gavaskar. Those are the kinds of guys that should be teaching. Boycott, that's who you'd be advocating for.
There you go. Jeffrey Boycott. John Wright, perhaps. All right.
John.
All right, Shane, we'll get you out of here on that one. Thanks for contributing to this. Was a great podcast. Really loved it. Awesome.
Self-proclaimed. It's one of the greats we've done,
One of the
on a
greats.
sliding scale.
Exactly.
Threshold.
Won't see you for maybe next week or the next couple of weeks, but we'll definitely have to fire things up when you're back on deck in New Zealand. All right, Shane, enjoy the rest of the weekend, and we'll catch you. See you, mate.
See you, mate.